Hi everyone, we are on to the organ systems of the body, and we're going to be talking about a lot of systems and a lot of organs. So I'm trying to group them together for you to give you some context and some ways to remember them. We're going to start with the hardest name of all, and the hardest name of all is the integumentary system. And the way I want you to remember that is that by breaking down the roots of the words in, obviously, and then tegu. Tegu is actually the Greek word for cover, and it is used in the word for protect, like covering someone to protect them. In this case, it is used with the G, integumentary. This is the covering of your body, your skin, your hair, your nails, and the glands that support those tissues. So that makes sense, and the basic function of this is defense. I have put these three organ systems together because they all seem to be involved with defense and protection. Of course, your skin protects you and it regulates your body temperature. It also is involved by protecting you from pathogens through vitamin D synthesis, which really regulates your immune system. I'm not going to go into everything, but those are the big three for integumentary system. That dovetails right onto skeletal system because the skin covers the bones. And the bones protect, especially your heart and your lungs and your abdomen as well. And they also serve as a means of support by blood cell formation and by calcium storage. So it regulates your electrolyte imbalance as well. So integumentary system dovetails into skeletal system, and that's closely related to your muscular system, which is also involved in protection because it helps you to move away from things. The muscles also provide a source of heat and dovetail into thermoregulation. If you want to get warm, you work out and you are feeling warmer. So those two systems go together as well. When you work out, you sweat, that involves your skin. So these three systems seem to go together. I hope that helps you to remember the integumentary system and how it works with the skeletal and muscular. Another set that goes together is cardiovascular and respiratory. Two different things, obviously. Cardiovascular, heart, blood vessels, and respiratory, throat, nose, lungs. And you see there are many structures that are involved in that. The one I want you to remember is that the pharynx is the biological term for the throat. So pharynx is throat, and larynx is your voice box. And those two things should be understood. Trachea moves down, is the windpipe, moves down and separates into bronchi in your lungs. Then you move all the way to alveoli, which I'm sure you've studied in the past. We're not going to go into detail about that here, but the point of the cardiovascular system is to move oxygen via the blood, and the point of the respiratory system is to bring oxygen into the blood cells so that it can be moved. It's also to respire out the carbon dioxide. So we are talking about cellular gases here that are moved by the cardiovascular and respiratory system. Now the big one, the nervous system. I put this in the middle because it impacts everything. So in terms of that, there are two other systems coming after this that dovetail onto the nervous system. But you know the nervous system is the brain and the spinal column and the nerves. You know that the nervous system coordinates sensory input for you, and it also coordinates all of this through an electrochemical signal. You know this, and it coordinates not only your input, but your response to that input. In the same way, well, not in the same way, but something you need to consider is that the endocrine system coordinates hormone production via hormones. So while the nervous system coordinates movement and coordinates responses and input via electrochemical signaling, the endocrine system coordinates hormone production from the brain via hormones, which are peptides. So they have a lot of overlap there. In addition, the pituitary gland actually is in the brain, as is the hypothalamus in the brain. So there's a lot of movement back and forth between nervous system and endocrine system. The pituitary gland actually coordinates and controls your autonomic nervous system, which controls heartbeat, and it controls acid-base balances and levels as well, and many other functions that no one is thinking about on a daily basis. So that is the endocrine system as well. Other things that are involved in that are the pancreas, the parathyroid glands, the ovary and testes, thyroid gland, pineal gland, which is also in the brain, adrenal glands sitting right up on top of the kidneys, and mammary glands as well, driven by hormones to produce milk. So the endocrine system is hormonally based, but it deals in signaling, and it is closely related to the nervous system. Another system that is closely related to the nervous system is the lymphatic and immune system. So this system is involved in signaling as well. Perhaps the lymphatic and immune system is very closely tied to the cardiovascular system and the movement of blood. I put it here because it spans all over the body, much like the nervous system and much like the endocrine system. But you can also think of it as being very closely tied, the lymphatic system, with the cardiovascular system. This lymphatic system deals in filtering out pathogens that are in the bloodstream and that are in the lymph fluid. It also looks for errant cells like cancer cells and filters those out as well. It's the big function of the lymphatic system, which is composed of lymph fluid, lymph vessels, lymph nodes. That's why they are swollen upon infection or upon a cancer diagnosis. It also involves the spleen, the thymus, and the tonsils, bone marrow, your appendix, which is a relatively recently understood phenomena, and the small intestines, which is lined with lymph nodes in order to filter out pathogens that are coming in through our food. So think lymph, think filtering. And when we talk about food, we talk about the digestive system, which you know very well. There is ingestion, breakdown of food mechanically and chemically, then digestion, taking in and absorbing that food, and elimination of wastes. So you've got a very well-known set of organs for each of these. I hope that helps you out. And for urinary system, you have a very well-known set for eliminating liquid wastes. So it involves the kidneys, which are pivotal in filtering and in electrolyte balance and regulation of blood pressure as a result, and as well with acid-base balance. When it comes to reproductive systems, you should know the organs of the reproductive systems for female and male and their functions. We're not going to concentrate on that here, but you will need to know for your final exam how to put these into functionalities. So we're talking about the ovaries, the uterine tubes, the fallopian tubes, the uterus, the vagina, testes, epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and penis. So look over that as well. We're not going to concentrate on that in this lab. In fact, we're going to look at the basics of where these systems are. You know that in the cranial cavity, cranium, you have the nervous system, and we've explained you have a lot of the endocrine system control in that area. In your thoracic cavity, you have your respiratory system and cardiovascular. We link them together. For your digestive system, in the abdominal cavity, the thoracic and abdominal cavity are divided by the diaphragm, which gives a pressure differential that is maintained to support lung expansion and lung compression, and it is very different from the pressure system in the abdominal cavity. You'll learn more about that. The pelvic cavity is for reproductive systems and for urinary systems. And of course, you've got a spinal cavity for the spinal nerves that go right up to the brain. So you should know about those body cavities. We are going to get into the skeletal area soon. Talk to you on the other side.